Okay. I think we're on. We should be on. I'm going to check just to make sure because I don't always trust it. Like everything, trust but verify, right? So, welcome everybody to a bit of a special meeting of the United States Pirate Party. We have some special guests with us, and they'll introduce themselves as we go around. And so we'll start with our introductions. I'm Drew Bingaman, your captain for this evening. Ty, I see you next.
Hello, West Virginia Observer and United States Pirate Party Vice Captain.
Thank you. Johnny.
John Robinson, Secretary for the Pirate Party of Pennsylvania.
Wanda.
Wanda Ward, Florida Pirate Party.
Thank you. Next, I see Gennady.
Gennady Stoliarov II, Chairman of the United States Transhumanist Party. Pleased to be here.
And then next on my list is Dan.
73s, KK6, VDR, Thousand Oaks, Community Science Director with the Transhumanist Party, Dan Tweed.
All right, thank you. David.
I'm one of the other Florida Pirate Party representatives.
All right, thank you. Eli.
Eli McGee, Massachusetts representative.
Awesome. And last but not least, Jelly Mitch.
Ahoy, Jolly Mitch of the Chicagoland Nye, the Illinois Pirate Party, a friend of the show.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. As you were introduced, we do have our special guest from the Transhumanist Party. I'm going to ask to see if there's any announcements or updates or reports that we need to deal with before we get into the meat of everything that we were going to be talking about tonight.
Just one quick thing. April 5th, right here in my hometown, Kaiser, West Virginia. Check more info on wvpirates.org. But we're having a rally for our rights, veterans, healthcare, all that sort of thing, right on the main strip. So if you want more information, just send me a message or something. But yeah, we'll be protesting this in a week.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Not seeing any hands, not hearing anybody speak up. So, with that, I'm going to kick it to Mitch and let Mitch kind of get things started.
All right, so first of all, I want to say welcome to the members of the Transhumanist Party, Gennady and everyone else who could come. Dan, thank you for coming back again. I appreciate everyone who was able to make it. I just wanted to briefly kick this off by saying what this isn't. This is not a proposal to fuse our two parties together. This is not a proposal to become one new party. This is a proposal for a coalition. This is an idea that I've been kicking around for a while, and when I thought about who would be the perfect coalition partner, the first name that came to mind was the Transhumanist Party. I felt like our two parties would be the perfect baseline to get a political coalition going. If you look at Uruguay, which is where I've been basing the concept of the political coalition from. In government, they have a coalition named the Broad Front, and currently that is made up of various different political parties of various different backgrounds, mostly left-leaning or left-wing. But they realized that they would get more done if they worked together and tried to get on the ballot, cross endorsements, and in working together on a common cause. And I realized that would work very well in the United States, and that's what I was hoping to work towards. So today I do have a rough draft of just how a coalition may look. I could explain it just by word, just how I think it would operate. I don't anticipate this being anything more than a partnership with a bow on top of it. I think that, at least in the immediate future, I want to say that I hope that this coalition leads to a greater partnership. But I think in the beginning, this is just establishing a solid base for the partnership. So One thing I want to say that this is not, and you will see it in the proposal. For candidates, I think that this is an important one to just address right now. I do envision us running candidates, us being the Transhumanists and the Pirate Party, running candidates locally, as high as state representative or state Congress, whatever it ends up being. When it comes to presidential candidates, at least for the 2028 election, I still think we should go our own way with the presidential candidates. And then in 2032, if we end up establishing that this has been a good thing going and we want to continue on and maybe we do want to have a shared presidential endorsement, I think by 2038, or I'm sorry, 2032 rather, that may be something to look at. But we're getting far ahead of ourselves, and I did write everything I'm referring to in the draft bylaws. So if you have any questions about what the proposal is, or if you'd like, I believe I could send it over. Now, real quick, Dan, you asked, is being a member of both parties an explicit option? I did write into the bylaws that any member affiliated with the coalition or any parties affiliated with the coalition, that dual membership should be permitted. So if, say, the Pirate Party and the Transhumanists are the first members of the coalition, we would explicitly be saying that dual membership between our two parties would be allowed. And in fact, I believe I put allowed and encouraged. If we add future parties to this, obviously we would have to establish that they as well are good fits for the coalition. It be built up from us. So I just wanted to, like I said, establish this baseline and get an idea going of what we have a shared vision for, what the future holds for us, what this coalition is going to look like.
Yes, thank you very much, Mitch, for that overview. And the way I'm thinking about this now is on the same lines as you in terms of maintaining two separate parties, but allowing individuals within each organization to be members of both if they so choose. And within the existing U.S. Transhumanist Party constitution, there's already an allowance for that, so we don't require exclusivity among our members. Cross endorsement of candidates, at least the opportunity for that, would also be desirable. And I understand this would not extend to the presidential level, but there are a lot of other candidacies that it would be mutually beneficial for us to have this kind of cross endorsement process, because we are very unlikely in local or even state level elections to run candidates that directly compete with one another in the same race. Like Daniel Tweed has run for city council in Thousand Oaks, California, 4 times, I believe. And if the Pirate Party, if he were to run again, hypothetically, if the Pirate Party were to endorse him, it would be very unlikely from a probabilistic perspective that there would be another person who is a member of the Pirate Party running in Thousand Oaks, California. Likewise, I can envision there are many pirates spread throughout the United States in various jurisdictions where there just wouldn't be enough of a U.S. Transhumanist Party membership presence on the ground for somebody to be a viable competitor to the Pirate Party candidate. So it would make sense for us, in terms of both of our parties expanding our reach and our message and working on shared causes, to have this cross endorsement process. And Daniel writes about the possibility of a geographic non-compete. I think this could be, let's say, an implicit understanding for the time being, because I doubt that there would arise such situations in practice unless there were highly populous jurisdictions where, for whatever reason, large numbers of transhumanists and pirates not only emerged, but among them there emerged very promising candidates. And then we could talk about those situations on a case-by-case basis and see if we want to do a cross-endorsement process. if we want to pool our resources in that case and endorse a joint candidate, or in a particular race go our separate ways. It may depend on the people involved. But I think initially my inkling, based on what I understand just about the prevalence of such candidates between both parties, is there's very unlikely to be significant overlap.
I agree with pretty much everything you said there, Gennady. One thing I would say is we could work it. I think we could work it out. There could be also in this proposal a if we work through a potential process to put in there to talk about how that is handled. If we do have, even at the state level, if we have multiple people in one state that want to run for one position, how we handle that, similar to like what would be a primary, but would be more of a private us handling it. So I think that's something that is a possibility, but it isn't likely at this time. So what I would like to see here is, Mitch, have we been doing this have we done a working committee with this? Have we invited the transhumanist in here to kind of look at the wording, or is this the first time we're unveiling it?
This is the first time, and I'm actually glad you said that, Drew, because this is not the meeting I'm hoping to establish the coalition. This is what I believe is the second of 3 steps. I believe the first step that we had was the weekend we had together. I believe that this is the introduction of what I think the blueprint is. I believe the Pirate Party and the Transhumanist Party should both look over the blueprint and say, is this good? Is there any tweaks we want to make to it? Present it to each other and make sure that we're on the same page. And then once we finally agree that, yes, we're ready to move forward with it, we can have one last meeting together and officially coronate the coalition, so to speak. So that is what I'm looking at. Right now, I do have the blueprint. I'm trying to think of what would be the best way. I'm trying to see if I should copy and paste in the notes or if I could perhaps upload it in the YouTube comments. But I do have the structure of what the coalition will look like. So if you want to give me just one moment, I'm gonna do both. I'm gonna paste it in the chat real quick and see if that appears legible. Not really. Okay, so
I think Mitch, probably what would be a good idea is to maybe put a shared doc up in the cloud, and wherever you choose to stick it for now, and then share that link.
Whatever you do,
Does that
don't
make
hit
sense?
that whiteboard.
Yeah, we're not whiteboarding. Yeah, no. Wanda, go ahead.
I was going to say maybe a good idea would be to have a Google Doc set to suggestions only.
That is not a bad idea. I was going to suggest that we keep it restricted to an extent. So yeah, Gennady.
Yes, I wonder if screen sharing might be possible, or if you're concerned about publicly exposing the text at this time. I don't have a problem with going over the text in public and just providing feedback, but that is at your discretion.
I think that would be a little premature at this point, and I think mostly that if there's somebody that would like to participate in refining this document, as from what I read it earlier today, Mitch has a nice framework to work within, but there's plenty of fill in the blank. There's plenty of ideas that can be added, things that can be taken out, things that might not quite work 100%. But that's why I think it would be a really good idea that if we could set up a joint working group, where we have an online place. If you have a place that you prefer, or we have our Discord server, it doesn't matter to me where it is, just as long as we share how our membership can be involved in the process. So, Mitch, do you have anything to add on that?
No, I'm on your side, Drew. I pretty much agree with what you said. I do think that the issue I'm having is just simply uploading it. I have it as the note. I'm gonna get it to you guys as quick as I can. But you do see in the comments, it's a little hard to read for those who are in the comments, just because it's a little unformatted. But if you do have any questions that arise from it, it is there to read for you. But I'm gonna try to get you a more cohesive style of doing it. But for those that can't currently read it, just for those who may be watching, just to kind of give you an overview of what we're looking at here, there's a few things I want to specifically mention. There's a portion where I mentioned a dino rhino strategy. And that specifically is just an idea of, if we want to have people running under the Pirate Party or the Transhumanist Party, I think that is the quintessential. That's what we want. We want to have people want to run under our parties and endorse these candidates. However, we do face the realities of ballot access in this country, and it is a lot easier to get on the ballot as a Democrat or Republican, unfortunately. And we know that in this country, we have a label for those that are Democrat in name only or Republican in name only, that being dinos and rhinos. And I thought a strategy that we could present forward is, if one of our candidates, a member of the party from the Pirate Party or Transhumanist Party, wanted to run as a dino or a rhino, that we would be able to, endorse them and show them the same, if we had an endorsed candidates page, list them as the endorsed candidate, but, explicitly mentioning to at least those in the know that this is not a typical Republican, typical Democrat. This is someone aligned with our coalition who is doing this for ballot access reasons, but we're fighting the same fight. Other than that, the coalition, we would retain autonomy. There would still be a U.S. Pirate Party. There would still be a U.S. Transhumanist Party. And any party that would come along after the fact, we would still have it. I did put a portion where I said 4 years membership. That is a midterm and a presidential term. I think that's more than fair to give people a chance to leave if they decide that this isn't a coalition for them. Not necessarily our two parties, but if future parties decided that this wasn't for them, or if in the future we did have a falling out, God forbid, that it does give us the option to say, okay, well, we gave it a college try. After the 4 years, we would be able to re-up and say, I want to continue the membership into this coalition. And after the initial 4 years is when I've established the portion where we'd be able to run the joint presidential candidates, or opt into the opportunity to do so. Whereas I think in the beginning, like I said, it is important to work on the partnership, but I think the presidential candidates, we're not going to win the presidency. So I don't think it's the thing that we should be pressing on to look at our joint candidate. I still think it's important for us to have our message put out. And I think that the United States Pirate Party can survive endorsing a candidate like Vermin Supreme. I think it'd be selfish to ask anyone else to endorse Vermin Supreme. I think Vermin Supreme's a great guy. I think Vermin Supreme, once you get past the goofiness, so to speak, you find a level of sanity that frankly makes me a little sad that I don't find in other politicians. But I understand any hesitation towards endorsing Vermin for a party that isn't the Pirate Party, which is why I don't think forcing that onto anybody is the right move. I think the transhumanists should still be able to run their presidential candidate in 28. We should be able to endorse Vermin or run whoever we do run in 28. And by 2032, if we both decide that this is a coalition we want to continue working with, we can discuss running a presidential candidate that adheres to both our ideals. But that's pretty much the gist of it. I think the bylaws really just consist of inner workings. We would have a representative from both our parties, meet to discuss, maybe multiple representatives, just to really have a balanced view of things. But that is the gist of everything.
All right, Johnny.
I just have a few thoughts about this, about the proposal so far. If this was 8 years ago, I would be on board with this, no problem. actually, it's more like if this was 12 years ago. The problem is that the election of 2028 is not going to be a normal presidential election. It's going to be very different. It's going to be either Trump himself through some sort of shenanigans or Trump's successor against someone else or a couple other people. The Democrats have never been as bad as they are now, as unpopular, as vulnerable, as spinning into the void as they are now. I am recommending a maximal integrationist position with this. We need a new party. We need a Nightmare Fusion Party, of the Transhumanists, of the Pirates, and about 20 other minor parties out here. If we can do a popular front of left libertarianish parties and get it ramped up for 2028, something interesting could happen. And if it doesn't happen, well, then we didn't lose all that much. We could go back to a more discrete policy like we're being discussed right now. I would just recommend doing that after 2028. I would recommend for the next 4 years, let's just, I forget the various video game metaphors, but let's just glom on as many people as we can stand into a fire-breathing, militant, radical thing and see what we can steamroll. It wouldn't work any other time. It might work this time. This is a weird 4 years coming up. We can do stuff in weird years.
Gennady, then Mitch.
Yes. Well, thank you to both Mitch and John for your comments. John, I will say for now, I am honored that you are recommending this kind of full-fledged fusion, and I do think we're going to have significant common cause in the upcoming 4 years. I do see this time period through a lens of radical uncertainty, if I may characterize it as such, just because the past 2 months have been so tumultuous and chaotic and unpredictable. In all honesty, I had no idea that the Trump administration, the second Trump administration, would act in such a maximalist fashion compared to the first Trump administration or Trump's own electoral rhetoric. So this is a cause for alarm for me, but it also gives rise to the thought that it's possible that in a few months, this approach will exhaust itself and fall under the morass of its own contradictions, and all of the people that it has alienated will develop a huge backlash to it, even before we think about the midterms, much less the presidential election. So I would like to see how this plays out. And while having said that, I think continuing to build ties and being open to much greater collaboration if the uncertain future tends in a direction that requires it would also be wise. So I see what you're saying, and I can see some scenarios by 2028 where a coalition of numerous parties in opposition to, let's say, the current political establishment, which Trump has come to dominate, would indeed be a viable strategy. Now, in regard to the bylaws that Mitch has proposed, I think they are straightforward, and I can comment on at least some preliminary thoughts that I have. First of all, with regard to the Dino-Rhino strategy, I'm not opposed to it in principle. I do think where possible, people should run under the banner of the party they most closely identify with, because it is a more honest approach. But as an example, Ron Paul ran as what I would call an instrumental Republican, even though he was much more of a libertarian. And there have been other examples. One could say Bernie Sanders is not really a conventional capital D Democrat, and especially he was not in 2016 when he ran for president under the Democratic ticket, but he did see the Democratic Party label as being necessary to try to gain ballot access. Andrew Yang is a very different kind of politician from the conventional capital D Democratic mold, and he now is one of the leaders of the Forward Party, but in the 2020 election, at least in the primaries leading up to that, he ran as a Democrat. I think this is actually a more viable approach for certain, though not all, local candidacies, because with the presidential election, of course, the primary process will weed out any unconventional challengers to the candidate that the establishment desires to nominate. But if somebody who is aligned with our principles, say, wants to run for mayor or wants to run for a state assembly or state senate seat and nominally affiliate themselves with one of these parties while clearly identifying their differences and their philosophical principles, I wouldn't be opposed to that as an approach. I would want to look at it on a case-by-case basis. So in terms of the article on membership and eligibility, I don't have any issues with that. With regard to the term of membership, I understand it to be a 4-year term with the possibility of renewal if all parties so desire. I don't have any problem with that. In terms of the rights and obligations, I see this language as permissive. So in terms of the endorsement process of candidates, I would say we should explore how those processes work today within each of our parties. And I can tell you a bit about how the Transhumanist Party endorsement process works. I'd like to hear how the Pirate Party endorsement process works. And perhaps there could be a way in which those endorsement processes could essentially just receive subsequent consideration by the council. So, for example, the Transhumanist Party endorsement process is we hold a member vote. We provide information about the candidate, and then we ask our members, do you vote to endorse this candidate? Yes, no, or abstain. And if it's a competitive race, if we have an internal primary, as we do for our presidential nomination, then we hold a ranked choice vote. But for local or state candidacies, we are just statistically unlikely to have that. So it would more likely be a yes or no vote. So one possibility could be, let's say the Pirate Party endorses a candidate and follows its own process, whatever it currently is, and then it brings up that endorsement to the council. And then through that notification, the Transhumanist Party would start its own endorsement process and bring this candidate before its members, schedule a vote, and usually a month later or so, if not sooner, there would be an affirmative endorsement. We've never had a candidate fail an endorsement vote to date for any office except the office of president. So I would say if we put forth a candidate endorsed by the Pirate Party before our membership, our members are very likely to vote to also endorse that candidate. We do have members who are very insistent on their prerogative to vote on such matters. So I want to make sure that as chairman, I respect that and give them the opportunity to weigh in through that voting process. But again, it could be as simple as if one party wants the other party or parties in the council to endorse a candidate, that party can hold its endorsement process and then bring that as a notification to the council and say, okay, do you also endorse this candidate? And then if we do it first, the Pirate Party could follow its own processes and issue the same kind of endorsement. So I'll leave it at that for now. I'll have additional thoughts, but I'm curious to hear responses to this and also how the Pirate Party endorsement process works. Do you have a vote of your members? Do you have perhaps state level parties being able to endorse their own candidates, or do you centralize everything?
So
either way, I'm curious.
So in general, we have our states our states handle their local, state, and local nominations. I would also say that in regards to electoral access or permission, if one member of the coalition has a candidate that wants to run and gets permission from, gets a nomination from their own party, that an endorsement from the coalition should not be the sort of thing that would prevent that person running anyways. It would just be without the coalition's endorsement. So yeah, I mean, and kind of going back to our process is we hold a vote for our presidential candidates, and that's here at the national level, and everybody else downstream handles their own nominations. So that would still I think could lead, states could absolutely add or kick them up to the coalition to apply for an endorsement. So yeah, I'm thinking along a lot of the same lines. So I think we have Dan and then Mitch and Wanda, if you still have something to add.
Yeah, pretty much on board with what I'm hearing. I think maybe we would want to co-endorse like shared projects on a case-by-case basis and then build momentum that way, to where it looks like it's a more natural, cross endorsement. Of course, anyone's free to endorse or not endorse anything they choose, which is as it should be. But yeah, I'm looking forward to collaborating on specific, very futuristic projects. Like I'm involved in this team called Sequatoria, which I think will culminate in the building of a space elevator at 3 points on the equator. And I think, with the pirate, philosophy of sovereignty and being the captain of a vessel, I mean, this is actually, I think, the direction that society is inevitably moving toward. So I think you guys can expect a lot of, major growth. And just on the election issue, I think it's pretty probable that the current administration is going to cause some pretty big economic disruptions that people won't like, and people vote their pocketbooks. So you could look at the past trend as like whoever screwed up the pocketbook issues gets voted out of power. So I think we could kind of throw that into the calculation. Yeah, I wrote up a comment. I'll just post it to second that thought. But yeah, please pass the baton. Go ahead, someone else.
All right, Mitch, go ahead.
Just wanted to bounce off a few different comments I heard and want to respond to. Number one, I wanted to talk to John, where I think 2028 is a important point in the electoral time in our history, especially. I think it is going to be an important election. We keep hearing every election that it's the most important election of our lifetime, but unfortunately, it does increasingly seem that they are getting more and more dire. That being said, we have the remaining 2025 local elections, the 2026 midterm, and any 2027 local elections, and of course all the special elections in between. What I'm trying to say when I say that is that there are plenty of elections where we can begin gaining power. We don't have to wait for 2028 to say this is our rallied presidential candidate, this is who we're fighting about. I think if by 2026 we could have a couple candidates at the state level or even at the local level, but just have transhumanists and pirates and anyone else who may come onto this coalition in between. Just as long as we have people that we are running and gaining ground in, I think that those are important steps. And if by 2028, which mind you, 2028 is still a ways away, this coalition we may independently decide to endorse the same candidates come 2028 without us being required to. We don't know how the future is going to play out over the next 3 years. But I think that the important thing to focus on right now is getting the coalition going, making sure that the local elections and the midterms are areas that we can collaborate very well on. And then come 2028, we will know if we want to go forward with our own tickets, or if we decide, you know what, let's just go. Let's go in early. Let's decide to do this coalition ticket early, which it may be the case. We never know. The future it can be molded. And then as for Gennady, I wanted to say that the issue of endorsements, the way I'm envisioning it, because I am under the assumption, or when I wrote the bylaws, I would be under the assumption that if you're in the coalition, you've agreed to certain standards, certain practices, certain what's the word I'm looking for? Certain values that we all share as political parties. Thus, for me, I assumed that anyone the Transhumanist Party has vetted and endorsed, my assumption would be that's good enough for the Pirate Party. Now, I don't assume that to be the case for you all. I don't ask you all to just say, "Oh, just trust us, we vetted him." I think that would be irresponsible of anyone to ask of anybody. So, we have different ways of going about that. One proposal I would suggest is have transhumanist candidates, have pirate candidates, promote them both on a whatever the coalition website ends up being. And then if we have endorsed by multiple parties, which in our case, if we're the only two coalition members, you could say endorsed by the coalition. And we can have it so that people know, all right, so everyone here is a coalition member, but these are the transhumanist candidates, these are the pirate candidates. Oh, and oh, look, these are who both the parties endorse. So we know that this fits into both. Or, we have, I think, the opportunity for not just minor parties in the United States to run candidates and have the opportunity to have their messages heard and their voices heard. This is the opportunity to amplify each other, because I've said it before, we're all fighting against a duopoly. We all believe that we have two corporate ran parties who do their damnedest to keep independent and minor parties from gaining ballot access and being able to make any meaningful change. And I think that we are aligned in ways that we can team up and fight the power, so to speak. I think that the political atmosphere in this country is very tenuous. It's very stressful for a lot of people. But I recall back to 2016 rather, that presidential election featured a record number of voters for third parties and minor parties. People did not want to settle for the status quo. They did not want Hillary. They did not want Trump. And unfortunately, we now have a good section of people in this country who believe that Trump is fighting the power and he is the anti-status quo, not realizing the Republicans control the House, Senate, and presidency. So I think people are tired of the same old, same old. And by 2028, that'll be 12 years of MAGA, same old, same old. I think people are ready for a change. People are ready for something new and something fresh and something different. And I think people like having options. I think the thing about this coalition that's going to be appealing for a lot of people is that, yes, it is a broad front. It's a united front. However, we're going to, because again, we will come to the name when we decide to christen it. I think that that's the least important thing right now. Right now, I think the important thing is making sure that we are ready to move forward with this. And I think that the process on the ground is going to be the most important thing. Once we have it together, the thing that's going to be appealing is that people can join this coalition, say, oh, you know what? I really like the Pirate Party. I want to join them. I like the Transhumanist Party. I want to join them. In the interest of transparency, earlier a few months, I believe last month, I had a meeting with the Legal Marijuana Now Party. Not talking about this coalition, but I did mention this coalition just to kind of gauge their own interests. Obviously, this coalition, I want the baseline to be between our parties, and any members that come on from here would have to be agreed upon through us, and then obviously through them and anyone else who comes on after us. But I do envision more parties coming along in the future. However, I think that we are the baseline that is the perfect baseline to start a coalition like this. So I think that this is, simply put, just what is. It's we're not meant to be a new party. We are meant to be a coalition, an amplifier, and something to to help each other. This is a symbiotic relationship, so to speak. So I think that's really that's all I really got to say about it right now. I think I've addressed all the comments that I heard that I wanted to address, but
Mitch, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit right now. The one more thing. What's our next action item?
For this, I think the next action item would be to send the draft bylaws to the Transhumanist Party, and we ourselves would take a look at it and tweak anything that we thought needed to be tweaked, edit, add, remove anything that we thought was unnecessary, re-examine everything. And then once we've taken a look at it, once the Transhumanist Party's taken a look at it, we will reach out to Gennady and we will come to a date to say this is going to be the day we should get back together and formalize everything, iron everything out, and get this coalition official.
So what I'm hearing is that you want to get this to each party and let them have their own internal discussions on it, and then we get together again to have a joint session discussing where we're at with this whole thing. And then from there, we'll come out with a final proposal for ratification. Does that sound right?
That is correct. You're picking up what I'm putting down.
Okay. All right. So are you going to put this and start a topic in our Discord so that our members can take a look at this? Mitch, are you there?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I would like you to create a topic in the Discord and share that there. I've already shared the text in our Signal group with the PNC. So anybody that's not active in the Signal group or in the Discord, you can see that there. So anybody out there that's one of our members, hopefully Mitch will get that up there soon in the Discord so we can see that. And then Mitch, you're going to send that out to the guys at the Transhumanist Party. Gennady, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you to Mitch for your comments. I am in agreement with the approach as outlined, and I'm also in agreement that the American voters are increasingly looking for a change and are going to be looking for a change come 2028, when I hope more voters will recognize that Trump and Trumpism are just another manifestation of the status quo that has made the lives of so many people difficult. In terms of next steps, I understand that we will wait for the Pirate Party to provide us with a draft that reflects the thoughts of its members per the discussion on the Pirate Party Discord that was outlined. And then what we can do is bring this draft for consideration of our U.S. Transhumanist Party officers and other key members like Alan Crowley, for instance, who participates in our internal meetings. We have a monthly internal meeting scheduled on April 7th, which is the Monday after next Monday. And it would be great if we could have this draft by the time of that meeting, because then we could devote a lot of that meeting to discussing it. And I think in that discussion, we could agree internally, essentially in regard to our thoughts, if we want any tweaks to the document or if we think it is reasonable as drafted. at that time, we could let you know. Then in terms of, let's say, formalizing our entry into the coalition, one approach that I'm thinking of is to put the question before the U.S. Transhumanist Party membership once we have a draft of a coalition document that we're all in agreement with among the USTP and the US Pirate Party leadership. And the vote of the Transhumanist Party members would be on the question of, do you enable the leadership of the Transhumanist Party to enter into this kind of coalition and operate according to these bylaws? And it would be a vote of yes, no, or abstain. If the members give this kind of prerogative to the US Transhumanist Party leadership, that may simplify the cross endorsement process on our end, because part of this prerogative could be that the way we would vet any candidate that the Pirate Party puts forward would be through discussions of the governing council of the coalition, and we would have our representation on that governing council, and so we could do the vetting that way, and then there would be one enabling vote of our members, which would be to enter into that coalition or to give the leadership the prerogative to enter into it. So that's my thinking at this time. Hopefully that streamlines matters a bit.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else they would like to speak about at this time on this topic, or something, or anything else?
I could mention something. There's literally hundreds or thousands of what are called municipal resolutions that come up in front of local city councils, and maybe that would be kind of a low-hanging fruit to, start with some of the more, the more agreeable ones to both of our platforms. One that comes to mind is called the Oakland Medical Plant Resolution. I think there's like 1,000 other cities that have adopted it. It basically tells the local law enforcement to deprioritize people using plants as medicine, for personal use. It's a pretty easy, one to get out there. But I think it's something both of our party platforms would be, entirely good with. And yeah, eventually I'd like to see something like a huge, repository of all these, municipal resolutions that can be introduced if they're good ideas and they're not already introduced into your local city government. It's amazing. Politics is local, like they say. So don't forget about the local end of politics. And also, I think government should be something you can check out from the local library, a tool you can check out from the library and improve your life with. So there's that philosophy too, but more later. Okay, thanks.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Dan. Mitch, any last comments?
I have no further comments about the coalition. I think everyone's pretty much on the same page about it. I think we all know what to move forward with. So I instead leave you all with this. On behalf of the United States Pirate Party, we believe that the United States should be a good neighbor. We believe in clean water. And we believe if purchasing isn't ownership, then piracy isn't theft. And Drew, I motion to adjourn.
That's what I was looking for. All right. Thank you, everybody. Are there any objections? I think we've covered a lot tonight.
I would just like to
pushing
say
50
real
minutes.
quick,
Go
thank
ahead.
you very much for attending. That's really cool, and I look forward to more here. I liked everything I heard from both sides, so good stuff.
And anybody out there, you can go to uspirates.org/join, and that should get you a link to our Discord, which is where a lot of this is going to be, where our discussion is going to be taking place. Gennady, where can we find the U.S. Transhumanist Party?
please go to transhumanist-party.org. That is our website. You can also find us on Facebook. Our Facebook group is called Transhumanist Party. Our Facebook page is called US Transhumanist Party. We have an Instagram account, US Transhumanist Party spelled all together. You can find us on X. You can find us on Blue Sky, and we have a US Transhumanist Party Discord server as well.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. I look forward to this partnership blossoming, and we'll get out there and get some more electoral wins. So on behalf of the United States Pirate Party, I'm going to say thank you everybody for coming and joining us, and have a great night. We will see you in 2 weeks back here, same bat time, same bat channel, and we will have a regular United States Pirate Party meeting. All right. Have a good night.